1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions.
Oh, Detroit, City of Champions, championship production, championship stories, championship team. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Charles Avison. And you left out two important things, Jamie.
Yeah.
These sweet championship banners we got behind
Oh, my God,
us.
yes. The headphone banner behind me looks like I'm wearing the headphones.
Yours got that
on the
electric
banner.
blue. That thing is sweet. Mine's got the crest on it.
So
which is
people
freaking sweet, too.
on Facebook or YouTube, checking out the videos, there's we got a couple cool banners.
Yeah, our banners are awesome. We love them.
A Podcast Your Voice, because we're recording in the Podcast Your Voice studios on the border of Berkeley, Michigan and Southfield, Michigan. And, so if you want to make a podcast, we can help you do that. And but yeah, so we're here, Podcast Your Voice. There's the one, and then the City of Champions.
Jamie's got new stickers. Jamie's got new stickers printed.
There's stickers. There's buttons. It's
Stickers
all kinds
printed.
of.
We got buttons.
all
yeah,
kinds
we got
of swags. We
got,
wanna-
Yeah, we got swag now. We got the banners
the
behind
T-shirt.
us. It's awesome.
So
It's a
yeah,
whole new studio in here. We love it.
Wearingfunny.com is if you want a Detroit City of Champions. I love this crest, man, because it's got a lion, it's got a tiger, it's got the Red Wings on it.
It's every single component means something, and it's got everything.
This blazon,
blazon.
blazon. It's great. It's a star with 30 points on it. That represents
33.
all 30.
We got 33 on
There's
there.
30 points on
Oh, yeah,
that star.
30 because we got
and
the
then
3 stars.
The 3 stars across the banner.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it's pretty cool. So, wearingfunny.com, there's all kinds of cool stuff at that website as well. So, check that out if you're a pet parent. We do that. I do an Animal Talk podcast. There's all kind of fun pet parent stuff on there. Wearingfunny.com. But, hey, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're listening, we appreciate you. Chris, who helped design this, is always a shout out to Chris for helping design these things, and a shout out to everybody who listens.
We really appreciate you.
We were just talking about numbers and podcasts. And,
every listener is just, we love you guys,
and
man.
yeah,
We really
and
appreciate you.
viewers, right? So there's people that watch on Facebook, there's people that watch on YouTube, people that find us randomly on YouTube. So thanks to all of you and everybody who takes a little bit of time and shares a little bit of the story. So Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, all champions along with 30 other teams in 1935. And one of those teams was the Ryder Cup team.
Yes.
Headed by Walter Hagen. And we've been talking about Walter Hagen. He won. This is the Roaring 20s. And they roared through the 20s, and then Walter became the captain of the Ryder Cup team.
He was the captain. I think it was 12 years in a row that. When we talked about, the thing we talked about with Hagen was, especially from the earliest days of Walter Hagen's story.
I gotta get my Hagen golf club. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the earliest days of the Walter Hagen story was this interplay between the British and the Americans. From the earliest days, like when you watch that movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played. The idea was that there's these incredible British golfers that came over, and the British kind of ruled the links at that time.
Yeah.
And then over the course of the next 20 years,
Walter got his backside handed to him at the Open.
Yeah,
and then he went back and won it 4 more times.
Yeah, and then he just became
he said,
the most
all right, I'm going to win this damn
incredible
thing.
golfer ever. But the thing about it was there's always this dynamic between there was this dynamic between the old the old world or whatever and the new world.
Although England, one of my favorite colonies.
They colonize us.
No,
bro.
it's but you say that, and it really makes them,
it makes them
very
upset?
angry.
Okay,
England,
the tables turn.
one of my favorite colonies.
Well, they were.
don't like that
no,
so
I'm
much.
sure they don't like it. You might have just cost us 1 or 2 listeners.
That's comedy.
I don't think that about you, English. I love you guys, and I disagree with Jamie. So don't.
Oh, so they're not your favorite colony?
No, they're not, and I disagree with Jamie because I think we may have a couple of English listeners.
I think we do, actually.
And I don't want to lose them. We don't want to insult our listeners, dude. We're trying to keep them.
Nope.
I like you guys.
My American brothers and my Irish brothers. That's all I care about.
Well, I'm playing the other. I'm playing the other side of it so that we don't lose whatever listeners we got.
The Scots, love them, hug them.
Yeah, no, I love the Scots. I lived over there for years.
You go. Right,
man. I've got a Scottish contingent that I love over there.
That's
man.
it.
It's like my second home over there. I love that place.
And then our favorite colony.
Yeah, well, not mine. The Americas are my favorite colony. But yeah, we're not trying to lose.
I'm a
British
troublemaker.
listeners. Yeah, we're not trying to lose those listeners.
But there was the rivalry is there.
That was one of the big,
and that birthed the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, and I talk about in the books, and that is, there's like all these big rivalries in sports. There's like Michigan, Ohio State, or this and that. There's these rivalries, Boston, New York, and that. It's the rivalries which people are like, oh, I hate that team or whatever. But the thing about it is that's what makes these sports compelling. That's what makes these tournaments compelling is the rivalries. If those rivalries didn't exist, then nobody would care.
Right.
And so that was one of the big driving rivalries in early golf. Was the rivalry with England and Scotland and the upstart Americans, as sort of usual, trying to take center stage. And so that was the thing. And so that spirit of competition, of international competition, was fostered over the years.
Yeah.
And of course, they'd sought for many years to develop the Ryder Cup. We sort of talked about this in a previous episode, but the Ryder Cup went back and forth, over the course of these years. Hagen was the captain for, I think it was 12 years solid. And we did a whole we talked about in a previous episode, like Hagen picked out all these jerseys and outfits for the golfers to wear. Yeah. And if you look back, something that's really interesting to look at, I don't really have a slide for it, but if you just look at the Ryder Cup, like their RyderCup.com, their website, it shows you all the Ryder Cup teams in history, and they're all wearing, like, every team, like the British and American. They're all wearing these, they all have uniforms, and you can see, what's cool is that, like, through the 70s, 80s, 90s, you can see how those uniforms were totally adapted to, to the era. You can see, like, their style, how their style changed over the course of,
that's an image of the first teams from 27.
Yeah. But over the course of the last 8 years, they've changed. But Hagen was the one that we had a whole quote on, like, the sartorial splendor of the team that he put together.
Splendor.
That was his. That was his thing, is that he was like, I've made them dress in my image, like he was the best dressed golfer around, and the Americans were all. So what we've been leading up to all this time is that in 1935, the Ryder Cup was in New Jersey, and Walter Hagen was the captain of that team, and the Americans won in New Jersey, and Hagen was the captain of that team, and Hagen was, for all intents and purposes, a Detroiter. I mean, this is Detroit claimed him.
Yep.
Detroit featured him. Do you have that City of Champions newspaper with all the players on it?
That's
deep.
There,
that's a deep dive in all the files. Oh, there you go. It's right. I just saw it. Just scroll down one more little bit. You have that news. It's just there. You go. See in the
it's in the back. It's in the back.
Right there.
That's for the background.
Yeah, the background. Oh, but is there any way to show that?
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Well, so anyways, right in the center of this newspaper is Hagen. He's featured on this. This newspaper came out on April 19th, 1936. And if you look up in the top left corner, just next to Garwood's face, sort of right in the center there, you just had your mouse on him there.
Yeah.
There's Hagen right there.
Okay.
So Detroit showed him, they featured him on this newspaper, and they claimed Hagen as one of their own.
Okay.
And and for very good reason. We've already talked about it. He was the first club professional in Oakland Hills. Hagen himself, in his own words, said that the Detroit Athletic Club was the building he was more familiar with than any golf club, than any building in the world. And this is a guy who, as we've already gone through, he was all over the world. He was in every country. He was in every state. He was everywhere. And for him to actually lay claim to Detroit as his home, and I've got a quote that will even dive deeper into that here in a moment.
Yeah.
But Hagen was, he's a world traveler, and he claimed, we've already talked about the numerous cases of these Detroit businember that were like bailing him out of trouble and setting him up and like
mentors
and mentor types. And that, like, the one story where remember the story with where he drove the guy he took the what was it, Ford executive's car off the production line.
Yeah.
The guy told him,
No, that's for the CEO. I'm going to take it.
Yeah. He goes, no, he's already got his initials on the car. And he goes,
scratch them off.
Well, put mine on there. So he showed up at the hunting lodge up north. They were going up north, and he showed up at the hunting lodge with the CEO.
He goes, "Hey, I got a car just like that coming for me."
He goes, "Oh, no,
kind of this one,
yeah,
bro."
Yeah, it's this one, and he got his initials on that car.
Oh, that's
so.
fantastic.
I mean, that's what I mean. So, and that was in Detroit, and the guys.
What a scamp!
Yeah, and the guys, that was the joke of the, of the
teeing the ball off over the Thames.
Yeah.
He's
that too. But so there, there's a million great stories. But again, the story with the car up in the northern Michigan, and that's another story of him in Detroit, him in Michigan. His golf, of course, his golf manufacturing company initially was based in Detroit. He's founded it in Florida, but the club handles were all warped. The wood was all warped because it was made in Florida. So what did he do? A Detroit businessman comes down there and bails him out, gives him a bunch of money, and then makes him the head of like the research and development arm of the Hagen Golf Club Company. They moved the business initially to Detroit and then to Grand Rapids. And so once again, there's his one of his main business ventures is once again Detroit-based company. And so it's like the connections with Detroit are so prevalent. There's so many of them, and then like I said, we're gonna get to a quote here in a minute. But Detroit, and as much of a world traveler and as much as like somebody that has been around the globe, he himself, we're gonna read a quote today where he's about the first home he ever called his own, was in Traverse City. And he dies in Traverse City. He's buried in Southfield, in Michigan. He's buried in Southfield in Detroit. This is a guy who is intimately involved with Detroit, and we claim him. And they claimed him in 1935 as one of the championships, and we claim him now. And that doesn't mean that he doesn't have, he's not like belongs to the world of golf or whatever. But but like I say, in his day. And in his own words, he regarded Detroit as one of the places that was dearest to his heart, as his home. And even in death, he's buried here. As you see, so Hagen was, this is another component of the greatest season in the history of American sport.
Right.
We've got the rise of Joe Louis. We have the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings first championships in the same season. We have the Detroit Red Wings minor league team, the Detroit Olympics. They win their championship a day after. So there's two professional hockey championships in Detroit within a day of each other in this same season. We have Gar Wood, whose story we've already covered in extensive detail.
Right.
Is perhaps the greatest sports story ever told. In Gar Wood, Gar Wood is the home. He's just another guy, another person involved in this incredible season. In Walter Hagen, 1935 Ryder Cup captain, champions of the Ryder Cup. And I'm saying, like, we spent a quarter of the year so far talking about and folks, we're wrapping up Hagen today, so we're kind of, that's why we're kind of waxing nostalgic here and not particularly focused on any refined story. I have a ton of notes here. We got these notes. I got these notes ready. We're gonna do an episode on. We'll be talking about PGA championships and 22. I got we'll get them.
We'll get all
how
these notes.
How the Americans cross over to Britain for this.
Sure.
But we're waxing nostalgic today for sort of like a conclusion episode on Hagen because, I think we've painted a pretty good picture thus far.
Yeah.
About somebody that is like just like a Ruthian, Ty Cobb-like figure for the world of golf, who is an essential component of the rise of a sport that today, is a major sport. I mean, it's one of the most dominant sports in America and in the world. And Hagen occupies like one of the most important stories Hagen's story is the story of the rise of golf in America. Yeah. And I don't know how anybody can even dispute that fact. Like, what other golfer, Hagen himself, like he talks about in the book, talks about, Bobby Jones was also a fantastic golfer, and the debate about our two careers has raged forever about who is the better golfer. And that's a story, that's a debate to be had, on some other channel. I'm not going to weigh into that debate, but I will say this: which of the two was more influential, pound for pound, from over the course of their careers for golf itself? You could say Bobby Jones. Oh, well, he was this huge figure, luminary in the 1920s. He was one of these big. That's true. You could make that case. But as far as like somebody that was there for every single major step, milestone, like over the course of 20, 30, 25-year career. How can anyone argue that there was anyone more important than Walter Hagen? As far as, was Bobby Jones?
No, yeah.
Bobby Jones was a tremendous golfer. Again, I'm not taking anything away from his skill, but as far as somebody that was more involved with the rise from its infancy, like Hagen began playing when they didn't even charge admission for galleries,
right.
and the golf clubs were just literally, we're just like passing a hat to pay the golfers whatever the golf clubs could charge. He was the top money earner in World War I, which convinced them to start charging admission to galleries, which then increased the gate,
Yeah.
which then led to even more people and better tournaments, better kept courses, more courses, in a larger involvement from across the country into the sport, into the world of professional golf.
So to call him the Babe Ruth of golf is almost an understatement.
I would agree exactly. That's why I say a Ruthian or Cobb, a combination, and even those two athletes, because Ruth absolutely represented a transition from sort of an early baseball into a the high flying, high powered game of golf. There's he certainly had a tremendous impact on baseball. There's no doubt about it. But if you're going to compare Babe Ruth in the realm which I'm talking about, as far as the evolution of baseball itself, then Ruth's game would have to go back to 1910, where they had the small ball era. You know what I mean? There was hardly any. Even before 1905, when baseball games, there was less attendance and that, and he helped to shape attendance from the earliest day. The rule, the constant rule changes and the evolution of baseball itself. And again, Ruth was a tremendous. Ruth was a major impact. There's no trying to diminish that. But what I'm saying is over the course of his career, Walter Hagen, seemingly every single year, as we've demonstrated, every single year, there was another new innovation or milestone to just the game of golf, in which Hagen was sitting in the vortex of, was at the game or participating in the game that changed everything, or was just part of every single innovation of golf. And we have that cartoon with where he's in this this suit of armor, and everybody recognized he was the guy who legitimized golf from where everybody viewed professional golfers as just a bunch of mercenaries that were against the pure amateurism of golf itself. The amateur, if it would have been left to Bobby Jones was that pure-hearted amateur that was untainted by the professional dollars. That he didn't have anywhere near that type of an impact on professional golf. He didn't have that impact on professional golf.
Right.
Bobby Jones was an amateur.
Yep.
So if anything, he legitimized the idea that amateurs were the best sort of purebred, pure blood players out there. Hagen was the guy that took professional golf from where they had to sleep in horse stalls, literally. Literally had to sleep in the stables, to actually being welcomed in the clubhouses of every single, being the star attractions inside the clubhouses. He brought professional golf from the stables, literally from the horse stalls into the clubhouses. Mm-hmm. And that was him. That was him. That was not, and that's not an analogy.
Right.
That's not a metaphor. When he went to that French Open, they literally put him in the horse stables.
Yeah.
They put him in the horse stables. And this is after he was already won several championships. So he was the guy that ushered in that, with that picture where he's in that suit of armor. They, every single article that we let off with the Hagen, the beginning of Hagen, they were all saying every single modern day professional golfer owes Hagen a debt of gratitude because he was the guy that brought professional golf, again, from the stables into the mainstream, and made these golfers from these mercenaries into superstars. Yep. And he was that first international superstar.
So we talked about the first Ryder Cup in 27.
Yeah.
But he was still a captain in 35.
I think his captaincy in the Ryder Cup took him all the way to 39 or 40.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what happened? So we brought us up to 35 in the Ryder Cup. What do you got in your notes about what was happening in 35 in that championship year?
Well, at the moment.
Yeah,
I think it was in June. So 35 in June. It was like right in the middle. I think it was in June. That's what I want to say. I don't even have the notes for the Ryder Cup. I kind of want to just read a few some quotes I had.
All right, what other stuff do we have cooking?
But I have it in the book. I have a timeline in the book, and I think it was in June. So it was right in the peak of the Tigers were starting to turn it around during the year.
Yeah.
The Tigers.
It's astounding that all this stuff was happening.
Yeah. So the Tigers are starting to turn around. May was when the Tigers were in like last place as late as like middle or late May, and they started to turn it around. And June was like there's the fans were starting to go ape for the Tigers, and so Hagen, it's at that moment that Hagen's winning the Ryder Cup, and and it was really it was another story in the newspaper about another guy from Detroit contributing to something, and Hagen, it was like he was the kind of guy when you're reading the newspapers, especially, Hagen, as we've already seen here, this is a guy that like every newspaper's got something going on with Haig,
Yep.
He's winning the British Open. He's winning his third straight British. He's winning PGA championships, the Western. I mean, he's in the papers like every day doing something, winning some other tournament. As I'm saying, he was a superstar of his era, and the fact that Detroit could claim him, and that he in turn claimed Detroit. Is just another trophy on a glittering mantle of championships that will never be surpassed. And that's what I say. I say it in the books. This is not only the greatest season that ever has happened, it's the greatest season that ever will happen.
Oh.
Because how can if a city was ever to try to lay claim, that's why
and they did, because it was Tampa Bay. Came close,
but that's the thing. Did they really?
But because they had the three teams.
Yes, but there you go. But so they had the three.
Did they have the depth?
That's what I'm saying.
Did they have a boat racer? Did they have a golfer?
Exactly. There you go.
Did they have the boxer? Did they have all of these things? Did they
exactly
have the junior hockey team winning as well?
Yeah.
Did they?
That's what I'm trying to say. Is if you want to compare this that you are hitting exactly the nail that I was hoping. This is what the nail wanted to hit with this idea, is that if any I got a call from when Boston got close and they were in the seventh game of the Stanley Cup. I got a call from a Boston Globe writer saying, "Do you have a comment about the City of Champions? About Boston, winning 3 championships?" And it's like, here's the thing.
Nice start.
Nice start. Congratulate. Good luck. Good luck, which didn't happen. But I'm like, good luck. But I'm like, but it doesn't take away from what Detroit did. There's nobody that can match what Detroit did in 35. Right. It's like, you're like, well, how can you predict that no city will ever have a greater season than this? Well, look at it. If you win 3 championships, first of all, the teams didn't just win 3 championships. It was their first championship in the same season. Yeah. All 3 is their first in the same season. In the middle of the Great Depression, so the time that it happened, the people that witnessed it needed it the most.
Right.
Like it was in the middle of the worst economic crisis.
Well,
Detroit's the hardest hit city in the Great Depression, and they win 3 championships by their 3 teams, and there's a first for each team.
All right.
How do you match that?
No, you can't. Well, I mean, but again, the magic of the first, right?
Yeah.
Because that is lost in history because.
It's lost. Yeah,
you can't. Well, because you can't. A lot of teams have won, so it's not going to be the first. Or it's going to expand unless you have 3 expansion. And you have 3 expansion teams.
But it doesn't matter.
In a city.
It doesn't matter if they can't achieve that, because that's what I'm trying to say.
So
is that,
that's the only aspect of it I'm going to devil advocate on.
Well, but what I'm saying is that just because. But what I'm saying is that is one of the reasons why it can never be duplicated or surpassed.
Right.
Because it happened. All 3 teams won their first in the same season. That alone, that statistic alone, that doesn't just you winning 3 championships does not even equal that, because what you're doing is all 3 teams. Okay, imagine if the 3 Boston teams won this year.
Yeah.
You've just achieved a statistical similarity with this as far as winning 3 championships. But here's the thing: what impact did those 3 championships have on your city?
Well, it brought millions of dollars.
It did bring it.
It's
it would
dollars.
Bring,
It would be dollars. It would be dollars.
It would be dollars, and
that would be the thing. It would be dollars,
and it would also be like
and that's why it sucks.
And it would also be pride of place. It'd be like
Sure.
the city would be able to claim, oh, we won the city champion, 3 teams or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. But the impact of Detroit's 3 championships and the first championships for each team, what it did was is that it established the Lions, who was only their second year in the city.
Yep.
The Red Wings had changed their name 3 times in 5 years. They were never established prior to this. And it made those 3 teams, especially the Tigers, were already an institution, but they were, you could argue prior to 1934 that they were a failing franchise. But it established all 3 teams as legitimate. Like the Lions, this was the 4th NFL team attempted, by the NFL to bring in a team to Detroit. After they won their championship, they would never leave the city. They would never change their name. To this day, even when the Lions are an absolute disaster of a team on the field, the fans are still selling out games. They became an institution in the city after having won their first championship in the same year as the Tigers and of course the Red Wings. These teams became institutions. So the impact of those championships far surpasses what the impact would be today if a city won 3 random championships.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Is the impact of them having done so in this year you can't just look at it as just the statistical. You have to look at the impact of these teams having done so. And then of course, if you want to move on beyond that, if you're going to say in that same season, all right, let's say one would be, say, oh, well, okay, well, you may, whatever, I don't even care about the impact. I'm with the statistical thing. You want to keep going. If you want to measure statistical, back to what you were saying. So who are you going to put up against Joe Louis?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what boxer are you going to put up against Joe?
Or even spread it out to an MMA.
Yeah,
I mean, what physical hand-to-hand combat sport?
But I'm just saying,
there's nobody.
Who would you put up against a young Joe Louis rising through the ranks? Nobody.
No.
Nobody. That's what I'm saying. And then so besides that, who are you going to put up against Garwood?
No.
Who?
No.
Nobody. No. He made a trophy irrelevant because of his dominance. Nobody wanted to pursue it anymore because the boats he was building were rockets on water. There's nobody that could take on Garwood.
Right.
No speedboat. And even a modern-day speed racer going, well, I'm the best speedboat racer. We've got a speedboat racer. You're going to put him against Garwood?
Nope.
You want us to go through the story again? You want us to read Garwood's story again and say who you're going to put up against them? No, you're not putting anybody against Garwood. Sure. And then let's say you even find somebody some Red Bull boat racer that's going to try to take on Garwood. Who are you going to put up against Walter Hagen?
Right.
Who?
So
that's what I'm saying. The story goes on and on and on and on. Wait till we get to Newell Banks, the world champion, checkers champion.
Oh, he's great.
He played blindfolded.
Yep.
Let's say you matched 32 championships across the board.
No.
Who are you going to put up against Newell Banks?
I don't even know.
The checkers champion, who is equally as good as chess.
So
that's what I'm saying. What checkers champion you got to match with it? That's what I'm saying. This story, this season, will never be topped.
So it was
impossible.
35. It was the 5th Ryder Cup.
Yes.
And it was in September, and it happened in New Jersey.
Yeah, because I think they played every 2 years.
Yeah, it was in September in 1935. September 1935.
September.
It was late September.
Okay, I don't know why I drew. I thought it was in June. September.
Yeah,
okay, I stand corrected.
29th in September of 35.
So yeah, the Tigers were headed towards. They were right about wrapping up the American League at that point.
Yeah. So it was Ridgewood Country Club in Paramus, New Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah.
So New Jersey.
Yeah.
You're on the Jersey side of the cesspool now, buddy.
Right at that point, the Tigers. Let me hold on. I got a picture to throw in.
Yeah.
I got a picture to throw in.
Right.
Man, I wish I should have put this in before.
Yeah,
I don't even have it with me.
It's all good.
We will. I have it in my notes and didn't even include it.
We'll put it in post.
So what it is? Okay. Or how about this? We'll bring it in when we're talking about the Tigers because what it is, it's a picture of Walter Hagen in a Detroit Tigers jersey.
Oh, love it.
Yes, and I've got several pictures of him. One, he's taking batting practice with the 35 Tigers.
That's great.
And then another one,
he's 42 years old at this point.
Yeah, he could hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he almost got
He
a
wanted
contract
to play
with the
baseball.
Phillies.
He wanted to play baseball.
So anyways, I got these great pictures. I should have put it in with the files. I didn't, I've been busy with the Christmas thing, so I just didn't have it.
He thought about baseball.
Yeah,
for a little
but
bit.
I've got pictures of him. He was at spring training with the Tigers, man.
Oh,
he was
okay.
at spring training with the Tigers. Hagen was, and he was rocking a Detroit Tigers jersey. Not even just a jersey, the uniform, dude.
Yeah.
There's a picture of him with a baseball bat, and he's about to tee off a baseball off of some guy's shoe, and like he's holding a base in a Tiger jersey. He's about
That's
to tee
great.
off with a baseball. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't have it with me. We'll put it.
Yeah,
I promise you.
We'll
I have it.
we'll
I
get
have it
there.
in my notes to include, and so we'll include it.
But I was
with
just
the
trying to
Tiger
get into
section.
35 and Walter.
Yeah.
And how they did on that cup. They stomped on the British 9-3.
Yeah,
Whatever
that's
that
what I'm saying.
means.
It was a rampage, and Hagen was a central
and they
figure.
won that. They didn't lose again. So they won that one, and they did not lose again until 1957. So it was 35. It was all the way to 57 before
Americans
England
were
won
taking
again.
over, man.
It was very, very, very dominant.
So I got a couple of quotes I want to read. I want to read one. This
Yeah.
is like I think this is from 1933, and it's just an awesome quote. And it's a Statue of Liberty picture I sent you.
yeah.
It's
Okay,
because
I
I've
think
got
I
three.
it
I've got
here.
3 quotes I want to read. I've got a quote about this incredible like Statue of Liberty party they had. Okay.
Oh.
And then I've got another quote from the Hague himself. He's in retirement, and he's talking about what his life is like in Traverse City.
All right.
And I've got a third quote, which is about it's the writer of the book that we've cited so much of, this wonderful book.
Yeah. The Hague.
And she is talking about what it was like to know Hagen while he was working on this book. So
I would, after hearing all these stories, it would have been an honor to meet this man.
oh my God, absolutely. Tom, I think Tom said he met Joe Louis in Caesar's Palace. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I envy Tom because Tom's like, yeah, I met Joe Louis. I'm like,
I was just watching.
what was that like?
I was just watching the interview I did with his son JoJo at his restaurant, and I was like, I felt I was like Big Cheese talking to JoJo.
Yeah, well, but what I'm saying is that, but imagine meeting these, we've spent so much time talking, talking about these guys.
Yeah.
It would be just the greatest honor just to say, hey, man, I
Without
met
a doubt.
Walter Hagen.
Without a doubt.
So, anyways, so that, like I say, this first quote is about this incredible Statue of Liberty party, man.
Statue of Liberty play.
Statue of Liberty. I have my notes. Partying at the Statue of Liberty. That's why we have the Statue of Liberty picture because this is like
cool Life
an
magazine
image. Yeah.
photo ever. Yeah.
So, let me see here. Which just starts here. All right. So this is so it does. It takes so in 1933. So it's just kind of funny where he says right here. He says the cash I collected through these years. He's talking about late 20s, early 1930s. He says the cash I collected through these years went almost before I had a chance to check its color. So he's talking about once again how he spent money.
Sure,
and
he does.
And it was only really doing these shows where the title of the book, which is I never wanted to be a millionaire, I just wanted to live like one. I never really understood. I mean, I thought it was kind of a quirky quote. I thought it was funny, but I never really understood its meaning until like really this show and walking, going through this, taking this deep dive, slow roll through this Hagen story, where we've already seen so many examples of it where he didn't want to be a millionaire. He just wanted to live like one. And my God, did he achieve that goal?
Oh yeah.
Because he was never really a millionaire, but this guy lived like a hog in a fat house.
Oh, yeah,
he spent money, and he says right here, this is kind of like an ode to that. He's like, the cash I collected went almost before I had a chance to check its color. So he's just blowing money. So this is the great story. I love this story. For instance, in 1933, I'd taken my son, Walter Jr., across with me, meaning across to Britain. Since we traveled on one passport, he had flown across the channel to Paris with Douglas Fairbanks Sr., nice traveling companion. Douglas Fairbanks, one of the biggest Hollywood stars in the world.
Slumming.
Yeah. So while I finished some partying in London, the pilot brought back my passport on his return trip. I then joined Doug and Jr. for some visits to the gay resorts in and around Paris. And so we finally sailed for home on the USS Man. Gay men a little bit different, I think, back then. But more
I'm 12. I
fun.
giggle.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So we finally settled home for the USS Manhattan. Coming into New York, the captain informed us we'd stop at the Statue of Liberty through the night because of the heavy fog. This sounded ideal for me, and I immediately hired the orchestra for an all-night stand. I separated the teenagers, Junior, the Quentin Roosevelt boys, and their friends from the adults. On the teenage side, Cokes and hot dogs were served with astonishing rapidity. while on our adult side, champagne cases were emptied with equal ease.
Ugh.
The pursuer had agreed to give me credit for all filled cases of the bubbly we had left. I had few to return for credit. So few I had to take care of my crew upon docking with $25 that Junior had won on deck races. He was broke by the time he got to shore. Thank God his son had won some money on these get deck races, and he could borrow $25.
The cockroach races on
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah, so he was broke from the party he threw at the Statue of Liberty. After all the service tips to Red Caps had been shelled out, my cab had to wait outside the hotel until I could pick up fast cash for the fare. He didn't even have money for the cab fare. Our party settled down in the hotel, and I called the desk to send up a couple of $100 to be charged to my bill. Meantime, Bob Harlow, his business manager, arranged the usual exhibition circuit so our cavalcade could get on the road again and start filling our suitcase with cash from the gate receipts. So he had to get back on the road and make some cash because he blew it, on this Statue of Liberty party.
Yeah.
He brought out the orchestra, and he goes on in ensuing pages talking about this orchestra.
Now that's a Statue of Liberty
Yeah.
play for sure.
Yeah. He talks about, and the book is great. There's so much more depth to it. He talks about all this, how this orchestra, like he's got these stories that he says right here, and it says, in fact, he talks about the how that orchestra came to Detroit to play. Like he's got this connection with this orchestra that like whenever he called them, they came out to play on this. So he's to play wherever he's at. So he says, Abe Lyman and his orchestra. In fact, it was Abe's orchestra I had hired for that all-night party in USS Manhattan. Some years later, Abe came to Detroit and played at the Oriole Terrace on East Grand Boulevard following his performance at the Cass Theater in Good News. So, I invited a group of friends up to my suite at the Book Cadillac for cocktails and to dinner and dancing
Book
later at
Cadillac.
the Terrace to Abe's music. So he's got this orchestra on standby that's ready to, come to whatever party he's throwing.
Is that Abe Froman, the Sausage King of New Jersey?
I don't think so. It says it's Abe Lyman. So close.
That's
Close.
That's
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller.
I get you.
All right,
I forgot what movie reference that was. But,
Was it Abe Froman? Is that what?
was it from that? I was thinking.
That's Ferris Bueller.
I was thinking.
That's Ferris Bueller.
Okay.
He's like, that's Abe Froman, the sausage baron of
God.
New York.
That's an obscure fact. But
I live my life through movie quotes and song lyrics.
I do
All right.
similar. I think I have a couple different quotes in movies.
And
than you do.
sometimes I get them right.
Well, you seem to nail the ones you pick and choose from. So
What did I? Oh my God! In class today, I was sending a jump drive, a thumb drive to another teacher to review. So it's like, hey, I put this file on here for you. Check it. I was gonna have a kid take it down, and I'm like, hey, who has this teacher next block or can run down there for me? He's like, I'll take it. And I walk up to these two kids. And so the one kid that said they'd take it down, and she's like, I'll take it. I'm like, all right, cool. And I hold it up. I'm like, see this watch? And the kid next to her just busts up dying. Right? It was a Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah, I got
So,
you. Yeah.
see this watch? And it's like.
Did you go into any more detail?
I had this, and he's just crying,
Damn.
laughing so hard. She's like, "What?" I go, "It's an obscure movie quote about."
Yeah, but it's one of the greatest quotes of all
I
time,
go,
man.
It's not a watch, and I go, and I don't do a good Christopher Walken impersonation, so I go, it's all lost, and he's laughing harder and harder.
Well, anybody that's seen that
as I go,
anybody that's watched that scene can know that was that came out of nowhere in that movie too, man. You're like, whoa.
you see this watch?
Yeah,
This was your father's watch.
And he talked about how
He asked me to hold on to it. Yeah. There's only one place I had to watch. Anyway, so I didn't go through all that. I just said, see this watch? And this kid is just dying.
Damn,
and
he
it was
caught
like,
the movie reference right off the
Oh,
bat.
yeah. So and I'm like, and everybody else is like, why he's laughing his butt off. And they're like, what's so funny? I go, because I live my life through movie quotes and sound quotes. Movie quotes and sound lyrics. It's like, and yeah. So anyhow, digression.
I get it, man. It's tough. Not, I mean, obviously you watch so many movies, there's so many pop cultural references, and that's a good one though. I love that watch.
But Walter,
that's
City of Champions.
So I mean, like this is Hagen. Like the captain of the ship wants to stop at the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Hagen's like, well, let me bring the orchestra. Can I at least bring the orchestra over? And he empties his coffers.
I love him.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's
hey, can't we just bring the band?
He's a legend. And when you hear about you hear stories like with Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is partying at all these spots. But like when you hear about the types of parties that Hagen throws, like these are, I just kind of just gave a brief synopsis there where Hagen is, he's on the top floor of the Book Cadillac in some suite, and they bring the orchestra up there to play.
Yep.
Like these parties wherever he's at turn into these just like you're having
bangers
out of nowhere. And so anyway, so that's that one. So the next one I want to read is a quote from Hagen himself, and this is him in Traverse City.
From The Hague? From his book? This comes out. Of course.
All of them. We've just been going straight to the original source.
Yeah.
So this is Hagen. This is him in retirement. I don't know how old he was, but he's basically writing this book, and he's just talking about his life here.
Waxing nostalgic.
Yeah, waxing nostalgic. So he says, in all my wandering around the globe, I never really owned a home. This, my first, is situated on a knoll facing west on Long Lake near Traverse City, Michigan. His first home he ever owned is in Traverse City, Michigan.
He was a transient before then.
Exactly. This is the first home he's ever owned. And so he says he's describing what it's like, what his home is. He says, my picture windows look out on the silvery blue water across the island some half-mile distant. To the north, 100 yards to the trees and the knee-high broadleaf ferns, my guest cottage gleams white and inviting at the head of the steps leading to the dock walk. 150 yards out into the lake, the dock beckons hospitably with its easy chairs and umbrella-shaded tables. From the dock, my eyes can take in the dormie rocking easily at anchor nearby. The American flag flying proudly from the flagpole on the hill. The sun is shining, and the cool breeze from the lake makes just being alive a luxury. My Hawaiian shirt, bright with flame, gold, and woodsy green, harmonizes with my golf slacks. He's got to throw in his outfit.
It's. I think Walter's channeling me a little bit here.
But he's always got to talk about his outfit.
Yeah.
Sure. But
sure.
it kind of reminds me.
It went to the slacks. It was fine until you got to the slacks.
But it reminds me of like on Seinfeld, where the guys always where the Mr. What is it, Mr. Putty? Not Mr. Putty. It's the other guy that's always like he writes for the catalog. He's like the adventurous guy. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But he's always like, I was sitting there one day watching a lion, and I was wearing my hat, my safari hat, decked out with subtle textures of green tech cloth. You know what I mean? He's almost like he's talking like he's writing for a catalog because that guy was
always writing.
But that's how Hagen is. He's like, the American flag flying proudly on the flagpole on the hill. The sun is shining. The cool breeze from the lake makes for just being alive a luxury. My Hawaiian shirt, bright with flame, gold, and woodsy green, harmonizes with my golf slacks.
With my golf slacks.
he's writing. But we've noticed this throughout the whole course.
Yeah.
He remembers his story through the outfits
what was
that
I
he
wearing?
that he wore. Yes. And so that's the Hague, you see. My hair is about half and half, as the saying goes, but is still holding its own. So he's like kind of balding a little bit. He's like, it's still holding its own.
All right.
So he says, I still hold close to my heart the wonderful memories of the cheers and the applause. What sweet sounds they made. Now instead of counting strokes on each hole, I count the tall, slender white birches, the spruce, the hemlock, the maples, and the cedars on my acres at Long Lake. The 19th hole on the Hague's course. And I am keeping places ready around the table for many friends. An inviting, hospitable, relaxing 19th hole for those who might stray my way to kibitz. So this is him in retirement.
Folks,
he's got a guest house. You come up to see the Hague, Could you imagine that?
That's why I talk about my golf game, and it's like not counting the strokes. It's like I get my money's worth because I get to hit it a lot.
There you go. Extra golf.
I get a lot. I hit it a whole bunch of times.
As much golf as you want to play.
You know what? It's a gorgeous thing, man.
Yeah.
My mom is 90, and she's down in Florida, and I'm gonna be down there for Christmas. We're gonna go golfing.
Awesome.
I'm gonna take her out.
That's awesome,
man. I'm gonna let her knock a couple around.
That's awesome, man.
So, so we'll do a little scramble. She'll
awesome.
hit it, I'll hit it, and then we'll hit from mine. But
that's awesome.
Actually, I was 2 years ago, so she was 88, and it's like we played in her little community she lives in. She's got a little par 3 golf course.
Yeah, cool.
And like 2 of the holes, her balls were better. We played off hers.
That's awesome.
she's got
88,
it.
man.
Yeah, she's
that's
90
great.
now.
Are you gonna take your Hagen club with you?
Fuck yeah. But
that's awesome.
But so that was as you were reading that. And he was saying, I'm not counting the strokes. I'm counting the birch trees.
Yeah.
And just that's it, man. That's that hanging with my mom. I'm like, she's she shouldn't know I'm going to take her because she's really actually she's in assisted living now, and my sister is living in her place with the par 3 to be closer to her. And so she's down there, so we still have access to the course, and so we'll
Well,
go.
maybe
And her clubs are still there, so
maybe unbeknownst
we'll go.
to you, she's out there practicing for like those games you guys play, and she astonishes
We got to get
you.
her out on a furlough for that shit. But she's playing bocce ball like a mother at the where she's at.
Yeah, you got to stay active, man.
So, but, yeah. Anyhow, but yeah, just that as you're reading that, I was like, totally was like, oh man.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's poetic, you know.
Yeah.
It's Hagen, he's like,
That's
for
good.
those random friends of mine that might stray my way, you know.
So he had we keep referencing the book, and if people watching on Facebook or YouTube, Walter Hagen, the story, and we put the cover up.
It's a tremendous
lot.
book, and we've taken a lot of nuggets from this book, but there's
so he
nothing
had an editor and a co-writer. And so who is that, right?
Yeah, so I think it's a she. Cause,
you said you had a quote from her, right?
Yeah. So as told to Margaret Seton Heck.
All right.
And do we have a picture with him with those girls on that on that boat picture?
I gotta get to it.
If not, I can kind of show it to the camera here. It's this incredible picture. He's like, this is me. He's like, this is me getting ready for this book, and he's like sitting there with all these pretty girls. I love it, and he's because it's a picture of him in retirement with these girls hanging out of this boat. Let me see. I can show it up to the camera here.
But I thought you had like words.
There's
from
one more
the
quote
writer.
I do. I want to show this picture. This is great because it shows Hagen retirement, and it's such a great little photo of him. Where's this?
I have the. That's a bunch of dudes.
No.
That's a bunch of dudes on the boat.
It's a great picture because he's like, it's a
him,
picture of him on this like pontoon boat, and he's like, yeah, this is me. He's like taking a moment to. Oh, here it is, right here. It's right in the. It's the very first picture. So I'll just show this up to this camera right here. So the quote is a typical scene showing me in Cadillac, Michigan, in the throes of literary composition. Let's not be in a hurry to start this book. There's plenty of time. So I'm going to show. This is that quote. This is the quote with that picture. Look at this.
Oh, all right.
So I'll show
There's
you.
a cavalcade of ladies there with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is him in retirement.
Yeah.
He's like, let's, these pretty girls. He's like, hey, I'm the Hague. That's what I do.
Hey, I'm the Hagen. That's what I do.
They're like, hey, Hague.
Oh man.
So anyway, the last little quote I want to read here is
the woman who helped him write the book.
This is the woman who helped him write the book, and this is her knowing Hagen, and this is her sort of this is really the final couple pages.
Like I said, I would have been honored to sit down and talk to this guy.
Absolutely.
And just
could you imagine this girl's writing this story, going, my God, man! Like,
there's people there. I mean, there's like, because in the rock and roll scene in Detroit, I know a lot of the relatively famous and completely famous, spent rockers in and out of Detroit, and it's so cool to sit down and talk with these guys. And I can imagine sitting down with Walter with how colorful he is, and this has been.
But I wonder how much she actually knew about him before she started writing this story. Because when she's like,
it's a little salacious for the time.
Well, it is, yeah.
It's
talks
funny.
about women and stuff,
it's funny funny and fine now, but for then in the culture, it was that's pretty salacious.
But for her, when she's writing this book,
Yeah.
he's telling her about the history. She's like, there's so much stuff we didn't cover, like him, like when he's like going to Japan. And he's like, meeting like he's going to India and meeting like golfing with Maharajas. And he's golfing with with the Prince of Wales. Like it's like his regular frequent. He's like his friend and stuff. I mean, like there's so much that it's like she's just sitting there going, my God, man. Like so that's what this is like a little bit of her like.
All right, what's her take on that?
This is sort of her take. She says, so to the Hague there are no intruders on his time, just welcome interruptions. He believes firmly in never doing today what can be put off until 3 weeks from today. He is undoubtedly the world's greatest procrastinator. During the years we have worked on his book, he has never failed to... During the years we have worked on his book. So this is not just like she sat down and was just typing his words away. During the years, it took several years for him to recount this story and for her to compile it. So because she calls him right off the bat. He is undoubtedly the world's greatest procrastinator. So you can imagine she'd come up there, and he's like, what's the rush?
Let's get around it.
What's the rush? Let's go let's take the boat out for a little bit. There's pretty girls over here want to hang out, So during the years we have worked on his book, he has never failed to leave his desk at the first sound of a turning doorknob. There have been many days when we worked for 20 minutes and entertained his friends and admirers for 4 hours. So they work for 20 minutes and then just get up.
But that's when some of those stories probably come out.
Yeah, well, that too, because they're just reminiscing and she's sitting there in the background taking notes. So So yeah, but she's sitting there going,
Expand on this story for me.
Yeah.
Expand on this story for
Yeah.
me. I like it.
Every visitor invariably begins his conversation with, "Walter, tell me about the time." And he will relate each incident with zest and enjoyment no matter how many times he has told it. He has the memory of a proverbial elephant and the grace of a large gazelle as he acts out the story. Yet with all his delight in good talk and friendly argument, he is a wonderful audience for an interesting guest. Anyone who has ever met him knows him for life. When these friends hit Detroit or Traverse City, the first telephone they ring is Walter's. At noon, he may get a call from a retired heavyweight champion, and an hour later from a Chicago policeman he met years earlier who wants to go hunting or fishing with him. His tact, his generosity, his infallible courtesy and kindness allow no awkward situations to arise in his presence. Take, for instance, the young man dining with his best girl in a Midwestern city nightclub who called out as the Hague neared his table, "Hello, Walter, how are you?" Walter paused by the table, shook hands warmly, and asked, "And have you corrected that slice yet?" He told friends later that he had not known the young fellow, but "I've been in a similar spot when I wanted to impress my girl, and you never let a nice young fellow down." Nice. So we didn't even know the guy.
Yeah.
And
Good.
he's like, "Hey,
Well
buddy, how's your slice doing?" So it just, I mean, that's solid, man. You're doing a guy a solid. So he has a horror of being sold something. He turns skeptical eye and a doubling ear on any long-winded sales talk. But he makes an immediate purchase when he happens upon a product which strikes his fancy. He bought an expensive raincoat last fall like one which was left in his Cadillac by mistake. Someone sent him a particularly delicious baked ham, and he ordered a half dozen as gifts for friends kibitzing with him several weeks later. Walter Hagen is possessed of tolerance, as he often exasperating patience and a sound German stubbornness. His keen sense of humor makes him a great tease and joker. His attention to detail remains as constantly fastidious as when he selected his first cashmere sweaters and his famed fleecy coats. Beautifully monogrammed shirt, paisley ascots, handcrafted shoes, custom-tailored suits in the same browns, gray, or blue. The Walter Hagen of yesterday and today. A wonderful and hospitable host. The Hague who likes to dine shortly before midnight on a thick steak and chef salad. And one sunny afternoon in the summer, he cut a pretty fancy Charleston on the boardwalk near his boat dock. He even boasts a smart slalom, but to date he has not demonstrated this skill. Football and baseball on television broke up many an afternoon of our collaboration. He is greatly interested in the promising young golfers coming up and always ready to give of his experience and skill to help them along. Letters come to him from all over the world requesting his autograph and reminding him of shots he played in various tournaments or matches. The name of Walter Hagen, the brilliance of his golf history, are as awe-inspiring to people meeting him for the first time today as they were to the devoted galleries trailing him around the courses in his championship days. Others stride the fairways, the eager and the skilled, seeking the elusive crown of golfdom, but only the Hague had the personality to wear it, combined with the forceful persistence to win it. I thought it was a nice little tribute to him.
Yeah, it's so even in his later years, it's just people revered him.
He was a friggin' legend,
and he was just I want to hang out with this dude.
I know. And
that is a cat.
One of my favorite sort of lines where she says right here is where she says the name of Walter Hagen, the brilliance of his golf history are as awe-inspiring to people meeting him for the first time today as they were to the devoted galleries trailing him around the course in his championship days. And I think that's that right there. I'll read it one more time. The brilliance of his golf history are as awe-inspiring to people meeting him for the first time today. Like as though people that might be listening to the show, this might be the first time you've ever been exposed to Walter Hagen.
Yeah, sure.
To me, honestly, I wrote about him.
There was a whisper in a movie about him. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, the greatest game ever played?
Yeah, and honestly, when I wrote about him,
that's a real person.
I wrote about him in the book, but having this is like whenever you go through something a second time or third time, and you actually get to talk about it and bring it out and talk with you, Jamie, about him. We're experiencing Hagen, right, like ourselves, like she's saying right here. For those that are exposed to him today, he is as awe-inspiring today. As we talk about him on this show today, we are awe-inspired today. Her words ring true. As those who were trailing him in his championship days. So it's not just us gilding the lily of yesterday building up something that was maybe, a good or great or thing like this. She's absolutely correct. We are as awe-inspired on this show as listening to him, and talking about him today as those who saw him in his actual glory of his championship days, and that's, I think, a fitting tribute to him.
I do, and I hope people,
because he is awe-inspiring. I'm inspired. I'm inspired by him. The guy's a freaking legend.
Yeah.
We are the biggest. I'm the biggest Walter Hagen fan on the planet, man.
I got it.
Maybe Jamie's.
that's
right
it,
there
it's
too.
me and Shia LaBeouf. That's it. That's
Yes,
yeah.
I think we can officially say that this show is the biggest Walter Hagen fans. We are the biggest Walter Hagen fanboys on the internet.
I was sitting there, if people watching the video, I'm clutching the club, the wood shaft club.
But I'm saying, name another show out there that is.
I'm putting with this.
Name another show out there that can claim to be bigger Walter Hagen fans than we. We are diehards.
I think we got.
One of us may end up getting a Walter Hagen tattoo. I don't know. We'll see. We'll save that for a future show.
City of Detroit champions tattoo.
Hey man, I had a crazy night last night. Woke up with this Walter Hagen sign on my arm.
I might end up with that. The blazon as a tattoo. I really might.
It's a sweet graphic, man.
Really might. All right, so thank you for listening and joining us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, all those podcast things and all the podcast places. We appreciate you joining the party and being here. And tell a couple people. That's cool.
And it concludes. I just want to mention this. It concludes our coverage of Walter Hagen.
All right.
In any future conversation or any discussion with Walter Hagen, we're sliding Walter. But this is not the last we'll ever talk about him because Hagen slides into the story. Hagen is a part of the story.
Back.
Yes, he will make appearances. As you say, he's gonna be wearing a Tiger jersey when we're talking about the Tigers in the new year.
I like that. So lots of stuff. Lots more to come. We got
our big event coming up.
Portsmouth coming for you. That's it. We're leaving it at that.
For our listeners, we have the huge show in Portsmouth. This is going to be an awesome show. We might get some footage going to looking at the stadium. We're going to look at the stadium. We're broadcasting in a bar, but the bar is owned by the original by the grandson of the original owners of the Portsmouth Spartans.
Broadcasting in the bar. What could go wrong?
We'll be fine. We got a great spot to broadcast. I mean, this is going to be this is the biggest event we've had on the show so far.
And if you Detroit City of Champions, there's
Tom might be on the show too. Tom's going to be down there.
So we got.
So for those of you that miss Tom, we miss Tom, and we're going to be seeing Tom down there. Tom's going to make an appearance.
So yeah, it'll be cool. Wearingfunny.com. You can get yourself a T-shirt, and it's a cool. I love this blazon.
The shirt's bad. The shirt's awesome. The stickers are cool. Here's the stickers we got here. The stickers are awesome. Yeah. You got these buttons. The buttons are. I think the buttons are. I just stuck myself with that one. But the buttons are awesome too.
Yeah, there's buttons.
The buttons are cool.
The T-shirts. Wearingfunny.com is where you can get your hands on the swag for that. If you're a pet parent, you can get cool pet stuff on there. DetroitCityOfChampions.com. You can find out about where to get the book, get it shipped to you, and where to find it if you're local in the Metro Detroit area. And then, and again, just leave a comment. Put a little thumbs up on where you're listening.
Yeah, every thumbs up, every share helps.
Just put a little smiley face there because we're having fun doing it, and just glad to hear that you're enjoying the party. So, Charles, thank you. All the amazing work that you do.
And I thank you, as I said even before the show today, Jamie.
We hung out. We hung out for a good 45 minutes, an hour before we hit play.
But I'm saying, and I said to you before the show even started, I said it again. This show would not, we talk about the, I got the story. I've been, working on this stuff. But at the same time, Jamie, your expertise and actually
I love the story.
Putting the show out on the internet, doing the microphones, doing the studio, keeping this place going. This show would not be possible without you. And as such, like I say, it's, I think we make a pretty good team.
To use a double, triple negative, I can't not tell this story.
I know.
I get excited. I'm excited about it.
The thing about the City of Champions story is that once you've been bit by the bug of this story, you can't look away,
and that's what we were kibitzing before the show started.
Nice
about
use of the word kibitz.
And I'm like, are we taking too long? Are we because are we because we would blast it through when we started? We went through the Tigers really quickly.
Oh yeah,
but we Lions, the Red Wings, Joe, Gar, and now Walter really took our time with them.
Long form, yeah.
And hey, the internet's not going to run out of space.
And the other thing was we're probably going to do some shorts in the new year, some shorts that will kind of focus for like the short attention spans. And we're talking about doing that, but at the same time, like the long form, we love it because we can dive into this stuff. We can talk about some of the details. We can read some stories. Look at the stories we've extracted from Gar Wood and Walter Hagen and Joe Louis, and there's just some of these.
If we cut
even
stuff
if you're not
out,
even like even if you're not a sports fan, they're great stories.
If we cut stuff out, it would be the things that we're critical about that it's not given enough attention.
Exactly.
So thank you for being with us and giving the attention, and we're going to do it again real soon. Well, until you skip to the next episode here on Detroit, the City of Champions podcast.